You gonna sleep, Koki? Good night. Koki's taking a nap while watching Mowgli Netflix without audio.
That's right.
Which is why we're here.
That's why we're here. We're here to talk Mowgli. Hello, everybody in the Nerdie Bunch coming in from around the universe, keeping the revolutionary going, keeping up the nerdy revolution, Dave, that we started a week ago. Yeah. We've got it going 1 week strong. We are here in Red Hook, Brooklyn, New York, in America, on the continent of North America, in the world, Milky Way galaxy. Coming at you live for those intergalactic listeners, Dave.
Intergalactic Nicholas. I mean, science tells us that a lot of these signals and radio waves and all that stuff that we're sending out, they go out into space and they never destroy it, and they somehow get out there and they're gone forever. That means one day, it could be a millennia from now, one day, some kind of a conscious being will be listening to this. So they'll be happy that you gave them a shout out.
What we think about Mowgli on Netflix.
But you gave them a shout out. You said intergalactic, so.
Well, because I'm a progressive, you know?
Exactly.
I think ahead.
Way ahead.
Yeah.
In both space and time, in this instance.
Dude, I hope that when civilization from Earth, perhaps a bajillion years from now, Earth gets hit by a rocket, something, right, blows up, all gone, right? But there's some remnants, okay? And they're going to hear this spoiler review of Mowgli.
Yeah, Trav says he can't do spoiler free. So fair warning, guys. This is going to be full of spoilers.
For sure. I think I have an inability to. It's just what it is. So, okay, guys,
here's a quick thing, right? Quick thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
Travis liked the movie at least better than I did. I didn't like the movie, but I will say.
Did you just spoil the spoiler review?
Because I'm saying it for people so that people can go watch it. Because what I'm trying to say is, I think if you have Netflix, you should just watch it anyway, regardless. I'm not saying don't watch it. That way, people can go watch it, and then I feel like you should watch it just purely so you can listen to this spoiler review.
Yeah,
is what I'm saying. Is that no matter our thoughts, we both say you should watch it.
It's true.
So that you can listen to this review.
Develop your own artistic opinion, people. Be your own nerdy.
So I want to get that out of the way for those who don't want spoilers.
I appreciate that, David. Yeah. And Dave, where do you want to start? Where do you want to start this out? I think we can go. You want to break it down, talk about some of the tools and the widgets, and kind of the outer layer of how's it look, how's it blend, what's the cutting, all that jazz. We can talk about some of the performances, and then we can kind of talk about our overall feelings.
Oh, you want to talk about what the visual effects?
Yeah, should we break it down? Kind of give it like here's the scouting report, because you're not so hot on how realistic the faces look in the CGI. Is that correct?
Well, here's my thing. I think a huge part of this movie happening in the first place, because just for listeners who don't know, this wasn't a reaction to Disney's Jungle Book, which came out a few years ago. This actually went to production before Disney's Jungle Book. It just happened to be a coincidence. Andy Serkis, who's best known for motion capture roles and pushing motion capture technology, was pushing that technology with this film. And I think a huge part of that was, I need a movie to use this technology. That the technology came first, then the film came second. And which is also what delayed the film. Doing this kind of motion capture technology takes a lot of time, a lot of details, painstaking, like frame by frame to get that kind of detail. And so this is what this movie used. They used a lot of famous names. Do you have a list of the actors who involved? Christian Bale, Cate Blanchett, who I think was the best performance in this, by the way.
Give you a quick rundown of the first 5 on IMDb. We got Christian Bale as Bagheera, Cate Blanchett as Kaa, Benedict Cumberbatch by Shere Khan, Naomi Harris plays Nisha, Andy Serkis, Baloo, and
so on and so forth. So on and so forth. But my point is, they took the time to actually get these actors. Usually for these kind of roles, they just use your voice. But in this instance, they did a lot of performance capture as well. It wasn't just voice capture; it was performance capture, and a lot of the art. You can see the expression of the actors coming through in the animals, to the point where some of the actual actors, you can see their likenesses within the characters themselves. And while that on a technical level is very well done, it is very well done in terms of the. See, I think this is one of those movies where the actual, there's pros and cons, because the actual motion, the animation, the motion, the movement is really well done, but the visual of it, I think, needed more time in the oven, so to speak, because I think
more refinement.
Yeah, it needs more refinement, because I think there's a level where it doesn't cross the threshold of video game quite in some instances, or it feels like they put more focus on some characters more than others. So you see someone like Baloo, who, even though I think his design is actually scary and ugly, on a technical level it's very detailed. But then you compare him to one of the wolf characters, it doesn't look as detailed. You see there's a clear hierarchy of who gets attention in the visuals. And
we got some NPCs just in the background currently.
Exactly, and I think it kind of makes it pop out in a weird way. And even with Mowgli, I almost wish Mowgli was a CGI character, motion capture, because I just don't think it blends in.
Just go full on in, kind of do like the Beowulf thing.
Yeah, I wish they did that. Just because when you see Mowgli on his own, he looks like he's on a soundstage, and then when you see the characters, they look like they're in an environment, and it doesn't look like individually both environments look fine. It just looks like different environments. It doesn't look like one cohesive jungle. And I think, like, look at this. We're watching some of the shots now. Like, look at this shot, and you go to here. Mowgli stands out. You can see that he looks like green screen, but then Baloo looks good in the environment.
Yeah.
So I think that it doesn't quite blend in with the colors, and I think it just needed more time. I don't know. Maybe they just kind of stopped once they realized we're not releasing this in theaters, because usually with movies like this, they're literally working on post-production up until the last second before release. They're really refining it continuously. That's why sometimes even big Disney movies, the trailer visuals will look one way, but the final product looks another way. And I think maybe that was it. But let's talk. What do you want to talk about? You're leading this. I feel like I don't want to, because if you let me talk, I'll tell you this. I would just go on a rant. I didn't like this movie. I really didn't. I just
right off the bat. No.
I will say that right off the bat. I think only because I say that because I complain about Netflix. And I don't hold back in it. Though this scene is one of my favorite scenes. There's a scene in the movie, I won't go into detail, where Mowgli's hiding from Shere Khan.
Yeah, it's a good one.
I thought it was really... It's
a very tense scene.
It is very tense. I thought that was really...
Dave, you're not wrong in what you're saying. I think that the post-production portion of it, who knows, right? Behind the scenes, you really don't know. However...
Tell me the story.
The whole story of the...
No, what is the story? What is the narrative? What's the story? What's by you watching it's not the synopsis, by you watching the film, what is the story they were telling you? Because I personally think they don't know.
I think that there were some themes. Okay, so there's the theme of like the way of the jungle, and how there's some sacredness within that. The kind of the hierarchy of the jungle, I thought was a very cool aspect. They always had the humans as part of the jungle, and they knew that if you tempt those humans, bad things come. So I feel like there was that theme of it, but the overall like antagonist and all that stuff, like the arc of Mowgli, was pretty basic. I'd say the arc was that you're not part of us. You can try to be us, but ultimately they didn't really press that's your kind. He kind of developed into having to interact with the human camp after a while. But after that, you never get the impression that he really engaged with either. There's also the theme of him being not human in regards to when his interaction with the European hunter, which I thought added some layers. Like, I'm not going to sit here and say that there wasn't anything. You can look at it. It just maybe wasn't as strong as even the Jungle Book in regard. But it seemed like it was just you're following a portion. I'm not going to hit this with a high regard film, but I found it was enjoyable to watch. There was some good. It could have been a lot worse. The story was for more or less there. So, and I enjoyed like a shot coming up. There were some great shots in here. And when I think about the overall portion of the film, is that this was a story that was trying to be grittier told, but then I think just circumstance led it to kind of be what the final product is.
And that's what I think it is. I think this is one of the stories where these movies where there's a lot of good ideas, like we're seeing a moment with the elephants, which goes nowhere yet. Look at the Jon Favreau movie, because you have to compare. You can't avoid comparisons. When they do with the elephants, there's a purpose to it. We see, like this one is just, we see what they do with the elephant isn't that deep, because it just ultimately ends with just like revenge, death. Like, and like I said earlier in the podcast, there's a lot of good ideas. They just needed to pick one. It's almost as if we saw Mowgli 1 and 2 at the same time, a sequel and the first film. It's like the first film was about him in the jungle learning to, because we should have focused either on him in the jungle learning to kind of find his strengths, because at first it's like, oh, I'm weak, I can't run as fast as you, I can't move as fast as you, but what are human strengths? I think that's what the Disney movie did a good job of showing.
Right, because this one just
ingenuity.
tends to, it kind of gets down to the point. It's like, okay, here's the first half, and the next half is just like, you're gonna just watch the Shere Khan and him battle. Like,
exactly.
That was kind of the premise of the entire second.
But
half.
but then there's another story which I feel like it's a sequel, where it's like, oh, but your people are there. You should go back and connect with your people, but you're this jungle boy. How do you connect with them? And this is a spoiler, but when he first meets his people, he can't communicate in this whole battle, and then he gets knocked out. And then we get a montage, and then they're all happy families. And I'm like, but how did you
spending a while in a cage?
Exactly. So it's like, how did you connect though?
There certainly was. I mean, the shortcoming of this is that it didn't. It had some cool themes that they didn't elaborate on.
Oh wait, this is spoiler.
Well.
This is a spoiler review. I'm holding back from spoiler. I just realized this is a spoiler review. You know, so it's like, okay, if you look at him and the European guy, right? Also, how much time did the movie encompass?
I think it was like an hour and a half.
No, not in terms of in their world. How much time passed? Because that was confusing as hell.
Confusing too. I mean, I didn't really get how many days we were pushing over. You assume that he was in like at least the camp for like a week,
right? But then it feels. But then when you go back to his people, it feels like a few days.
Yeah, no, the timing was all off.
Like I was like, wait,
timeline had no congruency.
Because it was so confusing because we get montage shots of them like, and that's the other thing. I felt like the DP was just like, I really want to get some beautiful shots of Indian people and Indian culture. Let me just show it. And because you get these shots of the montage of the people, but it's like, okay, but what are you saying about that? Yeah. Because at first you're positioning the humans as the bad guys, right? You're saying the humans are the bad guys, the humans are the threat. But then now you're showing us this culture of Indian people, and I'm like, okay, but that means we like these people. But then it's like, okay, who is the bad guy in this narrative? Because I don't think Shere Khan is a bad guy within this narrative.
He's certainly an evil character, but I think that comes down to the theme where it's like the laws of the jungle, because they meet at that moot and they basically use diplomacy to say, but thing is they do this currently.
They break their own rules though, because man isn't allowed. And Shere Khan, and they also say you don't kill out of sport. Shere Khan wants to eat the baby. He just wants to eat him. So it's like, okay, why are you stopping Shere Khan from eating Mowgli? Because he wants to kill him and eat him. And ultimately it's like I don't know what it's trying to say about killing. You know, because there's times where you kill some animals, like when Bagheera is taking Mowgli to hunt. But then when Shere Khan kills certain animals, you know, it's like, oh, you can't kill this animal, which I get. I like the whole thing of you can't kill the cow, they're sacred. But it's like, it goes nowhere with that. I wish it brought kind of like Indian culture into like, why is the cow sacred? Why is this? And, you know, and you could have really faced, like even when the colonialist guy gets killed, only because I know that he's supposed to represent this colonial guy. But, you know, when he gets killed, I'm feeling like, damn. Like nothing in the film showed me that he deserved to die, because at the end of the day, like he's hunting like normal. Well, because he killed Mowgli's friend. He didn't know that Mowgli's friend. Like that was just random to me.
Yeah, he's a bad guy because we're supposed to feel, you know, drawn to the animal world.
Yes.
And the fact that he's hunting animals is a bad thing and whatnot. And frankly speaking, that dude's working on behalf of the village to make sure the village doesn't die.
Exactly.
Like the antagonist was like perfectly fine.
So I'm like, it just
he's a little bit evil,
right? But then Mowgli goes and gets
colonial Europe. What else is new?
Mowgli goes and gets the elephant to kill him. I was like, damn. So at least, hey, like he got the ivory without killing it.
Yeah, the hard part is like they're portraying Mowgli as this, you know, this missing links between the animal world and the human world. But I think the kind of theme to the narrative is that they never really develop that.
But the frustrating part is they
lay the groundwork.
They lay the groundwork for it. And I think that's where my frustration comes. If this movie didn't even do the groundwork, I wouldn't even care. But the fact is they play with so many little things and they take it even with the monkeys. You know, like
also spoiler, no big monkey in this
like one. Really, there's no King Louie. King Louie is supposed to represent that kind of almost connection with he's almost human, but not quite. And then King Louie is the one that kind of brings out in Mowgli that, hey, by being a man, you have benefits. Don't let these other people think, oh, just because you can't run as fast as them, just because you can't hunt like them, doesn't mean you can't do anything. But then Louis is using that for his own benefits, obviously. But it still represents the Mowgli, because Mowgli has no real growth in this. You know?
And Mowgli never seems fascinated about getting to his people either.
No.
You know, like, yeah, so there's not that human connection, correct. It's more theory of the jungle. And the sad part is, or the interesting part is that I couldn't tell if any of it was intended or not. It's just there, which is kind of the sour of this film. But to move on from that and to kind of, I think it's a good looking film. Why I liked it, because the narrative wasn't the narrative lacking that either way. It still was an enjoyable film to watch because it just kind of had that air to it. In my opinion, I found myself saying, okay, this is not as bad as I thought. And then I watched it and, you know, it's nothing to write home about. But what did you think, particularly about Andy Serkis's direction in this?
I think he's getting too much credit. I like Andy Serkis as a performer, but he's yet... I don't know, I think because it's one of those things where, and this is my opinion, I think it's one of those things where because he does so great at the roles like in Lord of the Rings or Planet of the Apes, that it now kind of spills over to, oh, he could be a good director. I don't think he did any good direction. I think the boy is an ass actor. I think he was terrible. I just, there was nothing, because and you think about, okay, anything that I liked that could have stood out better isn't necessarily the directing, because that's the CGI team. And even then I thought, they could have done better. I don't know. It's not, I'm not saying it's terrible. I just don't think it's enough to run home with and be like, okay, this is a director I want to see. I'd rather see Andy Serkis's future performances than his future directing work. Future directing is not going to excite me, but his performances, again, like I said, it's one of those situations where the actual performances and the movement and fluidity are perfectly done. But I wish it was a different choice of film.
Sure. And you didn't like Baloo. I liked Baloo.
I thought it was scary. Baloo, okay, we have to understand that. Okay, I come from a background also knowing the context of the original source material. I know that. But I also think it should work without knowing the source material. But all these characters in Mowgli's life are supposed to represent different aspects. Mm-hmm. Right? Baloo is supposed to partly represent that side that says, yes, I know there's rules, but sometimes you got to break the rules to find out who you are. This Baloo isn't that Baloo. And then, which, again, I don't mind you changing it.
A regimental, military.
Yeah, military. But then again, then what's Bagheera doing then? Because Bagheera is supposed to be the one that trains him and all that stuff.
Like the conscience.
Yeah, but then they also turn Bagheera into the hunted one that's hunting him down and teaching him how to hunt. That's what I'm saying. They like mixing and match. They can't decide who.
He's like the spirit of. Baloo is. And
then when they inexplicably fight, the two of them, I was like, why are they fighting right now?
Bagheera is the romantic spirit of the jungle, right? He is kind of like the medicine man, if you will, like the spiritual leader of the jungle. The wolf is the clear, king or not king, but diplomatic leader of the jungle. And then Baloo is this is real life in the jungle, because he's got his jaw is slack, he's got scars over, so he's been all in there with the jungle politics. And then Shere Khan is just the
but see, that's the thing,
the
it's
jungle, I suppose.
I don't mind you kind of creating your own character archetypes that are slightly different from the source. That's fine, but they couldn't stick to it, because like you said, you just gave me the layout of who they are, but at some point in the film they change who they're supposed to be. Because you go from, like you said, Baloo is supposed to be the military, this is the reality of the jungle, but then when Bagheera goes all real on Mowgli, Baloo gets mad and fights Bagheera. It's like, you are so harsh on him, you shouldn't have been it's like, but pick one then. Then you're both flipping your characters at this point. It's things like that pulled me out of the film and would keep me jarred at it. It's like,
but there was,
like, Bagheera brought Mowgli to the jungle. He's the one that saved Mowgli and brought Mowgli here. Mm-hmm. But then Bagheera is the one that says, no, you got to go back to your humans. And then when he takes him back, he visits Mowgli to tell him, yeah, I'm just visiting, just remind you that I'm not going to pick you up.
Yeah.
Like, dick move. Why come back just to rub it in?
Right, because they're both trying to. I mean, that's kind of the things, the harsh realities of the jungle. Like, and there are some really good scenes, like this one that we're watching currently, which is the chase scene. I mean, there's some ferocious scenes in here, and that's what I kind of
but here's
like
my
about
other
that
thing, though.
in this narrative.
But here's my other thing. A scene like that, right? You grew up with Bagheera. Like, this is not your first rodeo, so to speak. He's a grown kid. Bagheera knows has a baby. In that moment, am I supposed to really believe that he's actually fearing Bagheera, like on a fear level? Like,
I think so.
There's nothing that tells
you're supposed to fear.
like, I was just like, come on,
the movie intended,
Travis. It's like it's like you and your dogs.
That.
You and your dogs. Like, your dog hasn't actually changed. There's no changing. Your dog's playing with you, and suddenly, it's like, you're scared of it.
Just that primal. They're trying to play with that primal.
But it has ideas.
Instinct.
It has ideas, but it's like, what?
Oh, I think this is when they unnecessarily fight.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. It's like, it's kind of like.
But
like,
Mowgli isn't new to him. They know each other. Like, they've known each other for years at this point. Mowgli's like, what, 12? Like, so it's like, and look, that face. You see Christian Bale's face. You can see Christian Bale's face in that.
Absolutely. Well, that's another thing, Dave, and where I got to give credit to Andy Serkis as a director is like, don't hate the player, hate the game in a sense, because he has never made it. Obviously never made it shy that he's all about the CGI work and the progress of motion capture. And it's kind of like the same thing with Peter Jackson when he was doing the Hobbit movie. Like, he's given a butt ton of money to go explore using the CGI type world, doing the CGI sets. I think it's just another example of these guys trying to operate and progress the type of filmmaking that they're doing.
But I think
for better or for worse.
I think this is going to be an example for us, because this is the kind of example people are going to use and say, you see, this is why we shouldn't spend a lot of money on this, because this has probably had a huge budget and it's not going to make its budget back just by virtue of being on Netflix.
Unless Netflix paid for it.
Yeah, so it's like, people will look at this and say, yeah, this is what happens when we try and advance technology. I think also it's like, there's that old age adage that says just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Sure.
But I think in this instance, that's not the case, but it's more so, I think they could have chosen better source to work from, or either that or just go full CGI and commit. I don't know. I think I like the idea of the motion capture. I would have loved, imagine Circus, because I wish he did it with more human-like characters. So imagine Circus did something like a video game like World of Warcraft with orcs and stuff. You know, where you have actually humanoid-esque characters.
That'd be better.
Like, if you told me that Circus, like, as much as I shit on him for this film, if you told me Circus was working on a film like Avatar or something like human-like characters, I'd be all down for it. I'd be there. I'd be like, hell yeah.
So I think that, all right, if we're pulling some positives, though, give me some positives.
Kate Blanchett.
Kate Blanchett was
I think for me, she was the most believable character in the story. I wish we saw more with her because of her relationship with Mowgli. Like, because you tell us a story of how she's like the scariest one, but then she ultimately helps Mowgli. And I like this. I like what they were kind of building with that, where there's a select few of guardian animals that are protecting you, but that goes nowhere. Again, it's just like, come on.
Right.
And even the story with the albino pup, I thought that was such a great touch. That you could have taken the story somewhere and it's just like,
that's a spoiler right there. When you see the head of that dog,
and it's just like, wait, you just killed him just like that? Like,
I know, shock value.
It's pure shock value. But you could have taken, and so by killing him, though, you completely shut down that whole story of individuality, because it starts this narrative of like, just because you're different, people are scared of you, so you're different, you know. But accept your individuality and use that as a pro. It starts that, and then you just kill him. It's like, nah, and you kill him off screen, mind you, like off screen. Like, it doesn't even matter.
Yeah,
it's just a meaningless
so that
death.
You're angry at the guy that's trying to help the humans.
Yes, so that the way the audience can get angry at him, because up until that point, we're not really angry at him. We understand he's a hunter, and we understand that it's not right to kill animals. We get all that, but he's not presented as a villain or antagonist. Until that moment.
I think where this would be just an interest. I mean, you got to add Mowgli. Here's the problem. They named it Mowgli. That's why this movie has a problem, because they named the movie Mowgli. So it has to be about Mowgli. And unfortunately, in this movie, Mowgli's just not interesting.
No, he's not.
There's nothing about Mowgli's character that is complex, interesting. It's just a kid struggling for identity. And without having that propped up with a few other internal struggles, it's not a good.
Do you know what?
It's not like a good fun thing
This
to watch.
would have been a great prequel.
Yes.
Pre-Mowgli.
Yes.
So
That's
what are
you
their
need to
lives?
do. You need to go all the way back to saying,
Yes.
what are the lures of what's
Yes.
the culture and the lures? Why is Bagheera like Bagheera? Why is
Why?
Baloo like Baloo? What is the whole structure? And call it the Jungle Book and have a hint of Mowgli being in it, or even just talk about humans.
Or
and
you could
then end it with Mowgli.
And end it with us understanding why Bagheera would save Mowgli.
Yeah.
Like,
Exactly.
in fact, maybe focus on Bagheera. Like, even things like, clearly they've had tussles with Shere Khan in the past. They
Yes.
know each other. You know, like, let's see one of those.
They're probably not. Yeah, they're probably, or whoever came before Shere Khan. Like, if you're going to give me this whole society type theme, then okay, you got to give me a little bit more adherence
Yes.
to the society. Like, you got to make me believe the hierarchies and the legends and how the jungle became the jungle, and kind of all these things. Like, or you need to give me a significantly better intro, like they did in none other than acclaimed director Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings trilogy in the beginning, when they lay out the prequel of like legend became myth.
Yeah.
All these things of like that setup of understanding this world wasn't done well. And so
Yes.
you enter, here's Mowgli, who at the end of the day, doesn't really have a purpose.
No.
He is someone who tried to become a dog, didn't succeed in that thing, gets then taken by humans, kind of accepted, goes back, fights some guy that wants him dead off of another person's own
And
thing, and then we're done. And then it's just like, then the world was fine because Mowgli lived forever. It's like,
elephants did all the work.
yeah, it's. I think there's no arc in this thing.
And there's nothing that made me believe that now Mowgli's going to be the protector.
Right.
He is the avatar.
Right.
The uniter
That's-
of two nations.
That is the problem with this movie, and yet
It feels
it's
like
watchable.
Here's my thing. It also feels like a short story that was dragged out into a film. I
Yeah,
also think it was a
in
short.
between.
They just had. This is a story we're going to tell. This is what we want to say.
Yeah, like why can Shere Khan
Like-
just walk in here with the monkeys?
Right? Shere Khan, like his eyes, those are human eyes. They don't look like cat's eyes, so it looks weird. Like
Shere Khan doesn't look great, but he doesn't look bad.
his fur looks good.
Kind of the claw thing. You know what his claw reminded me of? The dude in Scary Movie who makes the turkey.
My germs, my germs, my germs. But see, look, those aren't cat's eyes. Cat's eyes are very distinct and very primal. And those eyes don't look scary. I remember, like, what's his name? Idris Elba's version, Disney's version. Those eyes look so scary. But
Yeah.
I feel like this just adds blood. Just to add blood.
It does. It does add blood.
And then some shots like this looks like a puppet. It looks like some weird.
And then the superhero all fall in, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like.
And they just completely miss King Louis. And then they just come in and. Okay, we're just kind of narrating. We'll do commentary. This is terrible podcasting, guys, for you listeners, if you're not watching the movie
Shane,
alongside.
just cut all this out.
I feel like, I say definitely watch it
I agree.
because it's on. I would never ever have recommended this in theaters. No way. But if you have Netflix already, yeah, why not watch it? Put it on, whatever. You're not gonna lose any sleep.
I'm
over
right
it.
there with you. It's not hard to pick out the shortcomings of this film.
But Netflix is still. I'm still waiting. Netflix. My opinions on your movies versus your TV shows still has not changed because of this film. This week. This is future plug. Raven and I are gonna watch and do a review for Sandra Bullock's new movie Bird Box. It's released on Netflix this week. So hopefully that one. I'm hoping that's the
We'll
one I
bounce
can
back.
recommend.
And when you guys listen to this, the nerdies will have seen Bumblebee.
I've seen it.
The Great Bumblebee.
I've seen it. All I will tell you right now, without spoiling, is that it is the best Transformers movie.
Boom.
That's all I'll say.
So there you go, guys. See Mowgli if you want. It's all right.
Yeah, I feel like either way,
It's not great.
if you see it, you don't see it, it's not going to be a big bother to you.
Not at
Either
all.
way. If you're super duper 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 in love with the Disney film, maybe not, because then you're going to really compare it. But again, if you just want to watch it, just watch it. If you're curious, then watch it.
Sure.
That's what I would say. If you're curious, watch it.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, why not?
All right, everybody. Well, check out our other stuff coming in. You've been listening to the Nerdie Bunch with the American Yank
And English Dave.
English Dave.
Well, thank you.
And of course, Big Brother himself, always waiting in the shadows, creeping behind the plant in the corner of the party, Shane O'Mac.
Shane O'Mac.
Back on. You'll never walk alone. First
Shane O'Mac in the back.
Shane O'Mac in the back.
There you go.
That is the end of the podcast.
Keep it nutty, guys.